A black man enters a fine dining restaurant, dressed neatly and ready to enjoy a meal. But instead of a warm welcome, he's met with cold stares. The manager takes one look at him and decides he doesn't belong. He refuses him a table, humiliating him in front of other guests. What the manager doesn't know is that this man isn't just any diner. He's a world-renowned food critic whose reviews can make or break a restaurant overnight. And in just a few moments, the arrogant manager will discover the shocking truth, one that could change the restaurant's fate forever. What would you do if you walked into a place and were judged before even being given a chance? Have you ever been treated unfairly just because of how you look, not who you are? Tell us your story in the comments below, because moments like these remind us that respect is worth more than appearances. Don't miss more stories that reveal powerful lessons about dignity and respect. Hit subscribe to The Rise Against Odds and tap the bell icon so you never miss the next inspiring video. Marcus Lewis was known around the world for his powerful words. As one of the most respected food critics, his reviews could fill a restaurant with reservations for months or shut its doors forever. But on this evening, Marcus wasn't wearing a name tag or flashing his reputation. He simply wanted to enjoy a quiet meal at a newly opened fine dining restaurant downtown. Walking in, he noticed the warm glow of chandeliers, the polished silverware, and the quiet hum of conversation. He approached the hostess stand with a polite smile. Before the hostess could even greet him, the restaurant manager stepped forward. His eyes scanned Marcus from head to toe, and in a split second, judgment clouded his expression. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked tonight," he said flatly. Marcus raised an eyebrow, glancing around the half-empty dining room, where several tables clearly sat unoccupied. Calmly, he asked, "I don't have a single seat?" The manager's lips tightened. "As I said, we're full. Perhaps you'd feel more comfortable at a diner across the street." The words were sharp, laced with arrogance. Several guests nearby paused their conversations, sensing the hostility. Marcus, though stung, kept his composure. This wasn't the first time he had faced discrimination. But little did the manager know, the man he had just insulted held the power to decide this restaurant's future. With quiet dignity, Marcus adjusted his jacket and simply said, "I see. Thank you." Then he walked out, leaving the manager smirking smugly, unaware that he had just made the biggest mistake of his career. Marcus stepped out into the cool evening air, his heart heavy but his expression calm. He had been turned away before, judged not for his achievements, but for the color of his skin. Yet tonight felt different, not because of the insult, but because of what the manager didn't realize. Marcus wasn't just a customer. He was scheduled to review this very restaurant for an upcoming feature in a national magazine. The publication's readers trusted his words, and his reviews shaped reputations across the culinary world. For a brief moment, Marcus considered letting anger guide his next step. But he knew better. Revenge wasn't his style. Truth was. He returned to his car, opened his leather-bound notebook, and began writing. Each word he penned carried weight, carefully describing not just the food he never got to taste, but the hospitality, or lack thereof, that spoke louder than any dish. Meanwhile, back inside the restaurant, the manager strutted across the floor, proud of the power he believed he had displayed. "Some people just don't belong here," he whispered smugly to a server. The server looked uneasy, glancing toward the door where Marcus had exited. He had recognized him. His eyes widened as the realization sank in. That wasn't just a guest. It was Marcus Lewis, the critic whose words had the power to make or break them. His hands trembled as he hurried to the manager. "Do you know who that was?" he whispered urgently. But the manager, full of arrogance, waved him off. Just another nobody. Little did he know, the storm he had just invited was about to sweep through his restaurant like wildfire. The night passed quickly, But the next morning the storm began. Marcus's article went live on the magazine's website, instantly catching fire. The headline was bold: "A restaurant that serves prejudice, not food." His words cut deep, not out of spite, but truth. He wrote about the chandeliers and polished silverware, but also about the manager's dismissive tone, the empty tables hidden behind lies, and the humiliating suggestion that he belonged somewhere else. Within hours, the piece was shared thousands of times across social media. Comments poured in, some expressing outrage, others sharing similar experiences of being judged unfairly. The restaurant's phone rang endlessly, but not with reservations. Angry callers demanded answers, and loyal customers vowed never to return. Meanwhile, Marcus remained calm. He hadn't needed to raise his voice or argue that night. His pen, as always, was mightier than any confrontation. Back at the restaurant, panic set in. The staff scrolled through their phones, eyes wide with disbelief as they read Marcus's review. The server, who had recognized him, whispered nervously to coworkers, "I tried to warn the manager." The dining room, usually buzzing with customers, sat eerily quiet. By noon, not a single guest had walked through the door. In the manager's office, the once proud man sat pale and trembling. His arrogance had been replaced by fear. His name was being dragged across the internet, his face already circulating in memes and angry posts. The words he had spoken so carelessly had come back like a boomerang, striking harder than he ever imagined. And yet, the biggest blow was still to come, because Marcus wasn't finished. His influence reached beyond a single article, and soon the story would be everywhere. By evening, the fallout had grown unstoppable. National news outlets picked up Marcus's review, calling it a wake-up call for the restaurant industry. Social media hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag service with respect and hashtag Marcus Lewis review. Influencers, activists, and even celebrities reposted his words, praising his calm dignity in the face of humiliation. The once exclusive restaurant was now infamous, its reputation shattered overnight. Outside, protesters gathered with signs reading, "Respect all customers," and "Dignity has no dress code." Television crews camped outside the entrance, capturing the chaos. Inside, the staff whispered anxiously. Servers feared for their jobs. Chefs shook their heads in disbelief, and the atmosphere of luxury had been replaced with dread. The manager, however, still clung to denial. Sitting in his office, he muttered bitterly, "It's just one man's opinion. This will blow over." But he was wrong. A sudden knock on his office door startled him. The owner of the restaurant stormed in, holding a printout of the viral article. His face was red with fury. "Do you realize what you've done?" the owner shouted. "Do you know who Marcus Lewis is?" The manager stammered. He was just another customer, but the owner cut him off sharply. "That customer is the most respected food critic in the country. His review just destroyed us. Reservations have vanished, investors are pulling out, and our name is ruined, all because of your arrogance." The manager's face drained of color. The weight of his mistake finally sank in. He hadn't just insulted a man. He had sabotaged the very business he was meant to protect. The manager sat frozen, his arrogance stripped away, replaced with fear and regret. He thought back to the moment Marcus had walked through those doors, how quickly he had judged him, how easily he had dismissed him. Now, the entire city knew of his mistake, and his career teetered on the edge of collapse. Meanwhile, Marcus was at peace. He had not raised his voice, demanded revenge, or sought personal gain. He had simply told the truth, and the truth had spoken louder than any insult. That night, Marcus appeared on a popular talk show. With calm composure, he explained what had happened, not with bitterness but with wisdom. "Restaurants," he said, "are not just about food. They are about hospitality. When someone walks through your doors, you serve not their appearance but their humanity. Dignity should be on the menu before any dish. The audience erupted in applause. Clips from the interview spread even faster than his review, turning the incident into a global lesson about respect. Days later, the restaurant stood nearly empty, its once proud image tarnished beyond repair. The manager quietly resigned under pressure, disappearing from the industry. But Marcus's words continued to echo, reminding people everywhere that respect must never be conditional. As he closed his notebook that night, Marcus smiled softly. He hadn't just reviewed a restaurant, he had exposed a mindset, and in doing so, he had reminded the world that true service begins not on the plate, but in the heart. The final line of his article summed it best. Flavor fades, but dignity, when denied or given, leaves the strongest taste of all.